Welcome everybody back to Permadirt and Friends reviews with the usuals. On my left, we got ourselves a Poka TTV rocking the Halifax, Nova Scotia hoodie.
I thought it was Harvard.
Well, nice.
Cool.
Good read.
Yeah, I can read it sometimes when things are focusing correctly. And on my right, we have Ostrichwrangler. Look at that. Look at what he did there. That's production, folks.
Production's all I got.
That is production. He
Well,
promises
I
he's
wanna up it.
figured out his not being able to get his camera to focus. Things are going on now with Poka. All right, we've cranked up the production value to the point where things are breaking. All right, I'm proud of us, but we need to dial it back. Okay. Welcome back to episode 3 of our breakdown of season 2, The Last of Us. We got ourselves another good one, folks. We got ourselves another good one, but it is almost sad to say we are almost at that 50% mark already, which is crazy. Because was there 7 episodes? Is that what we talked about? I don't know why I have to ask that. I should know this.
You should know this.
Pretty sure.
There are 7.
So it is kind of crazy to think that, but we can discuss all that stuff later. If you missed one of these and you'd like to catch a previous one, it is on the YouTubes, the Permadirt YouTube, located down in many of the links and things that'll pop up in chat. Make sure you go ahead and check that out. If you like that, leave a like, subscribe, usual stuff. Make sure you comment on Poka or something. I don't care. Just say, I was here and I saw Poka.
Ignore the really
YouTube.
creepy eyes that I just had during that.
Oh, you creepy eyes?
Well, I can set it so my eye contact is always in the camera.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
It's
so,
really
it
creepy.
It looks like the pug eyes.
Yeah, they really bounce around in a weird way. I don't like that.
As always, I mean, if there's something we get wrong, let us know in the video down below too, or in the comments. Sorry for the video. We'd love to go back and take a look.
There is.
Other than that, we are going to. Oh, there is.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I found
cool,
out the director's name is Mark Mylod.
Oh, that's how you say it?
I think so, unless I forgot. But
yeah, I'll believe you. Right. I'll believe you because I honestly don't know any better. I don't know any better. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
A lot of special features.
Sorry, Mr. Mylod. If I said it wrong, not my fault. I had a free education and then a lot that I paid for, and it still didn't fix it. So, all right, episode 3 entitled "The Path," written by our usual. Okay, how do you say his name? This one. That's right. Oh yeah. Sorry, directed by Peter. I'm gonna guess it's. I don't know if it's horror or horror. I don't know. I'm so sorry. It looks like it's spelled like horror, but I don't know. By Peter Horror, who is do you know what he's known for? Have you guys looked? Don't cheat. I can see those windows flicking around there, Ostrich. Don't cheat.
No, I watched it. Like I said, I watched an hour of special features. I know everything about this episode.
You dirty dog. So what's he known for? Where's he? What's his director? What's some of his biggest stuff? Without reading your screen currently.
No, I was looking at my text, my tabs. He's a Game of Thrones guy.
No.
What?
Peter Horror?
Was that Mark?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Oh,
are you sure you watched her right behind the scenes? All right. He's far less, I would say, far less known compared to the one we did last week. He doesn't have quite the resume, in my opinion. But he is probably best known for doing, I think he did 3 episodes of Daredevil on Netflix. And he's done a bunch of, I put down here sort of like the B, it sounds insulting. It's not insulting, but more of like the B level Marvel shows. Ooh. So not like the main stuff, but some of that stuff. So he's done a lot of Marvel stuff. He's done a lot of sort of more actiony things, which is kind of interesting because this has really 0 action in it. So maybe it's him trying to stretch his legs a little bit. I don't know if he's done anything else for HBO though, too, because like, HBO normally likes to keep all their stuff sort of in-house. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like they have their directors and they have their people, and they just kind of move them around from different shows when they need it. Right. So it's interesting that he's in there. I don't know any more about that. I feel like I'm talking a little above my pay grade here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the stuff he has. It has a runtime of 55 minutes, 27 seconds, very similar to the last 2. So yeah, get us started here. We open up right where the last one picked off. All right, or ended off. Sorry, ended off. we picked up right where the last one ended off in the destruction of Jackson. We kind of have that scene where we see all the clicker bodies and stuff on the ground. It's all like red. You have a really red hue here. And Tommy goes into this makeshift morgue where obviously you see a dead body, and the way he's kind of has his affection and sort of body language, you can kind of assume at this point that it's Joel, and then eventually they show the watch, and we know that is Joel's watch that he got from Sarah in the first season, right before she died. And of course, they're having he's cleaning, he's sort of washing Joel's body again, which is like the whole thing, and then yeah, he has the statement. He has basically the line saying like, "Now you're reunited with Sarah. Say say hi to Sarah for me," or something along those lines. I can't remember what it was, but again, very touching scene. Sort of this whole like, okay, things, this isn't all great. They didn't get unscathed because during the shot they also zoom out and you see lots of other bodies covered up in there. So there's been lots of loss, and we knew that from last episode, but you definitely see more. Give Sarah my love. Nice. There we go. Right. So we definitely see that. And then we snap from there to the hospital that has tons of people. This doesn't even look like a hospital you would see. It felt detached almost right away. Like it didn't seem like a hospital you would have in Jackson, but it was. It's full of people. There's kids and everyone's screaming everywhere. And I'm kind of like, what's all going on here? Like how are the kids all injured? Because I felt like they didn't show anything of like any of these places being opened up, or I don't know why the kids were all there screaming. Who knows? Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I just assumed that it was like the family of people who were either dead or in there hurting. And like,
Oh man,
where
if
they
that place is
themselves
that,
were in there hurting and like have the
yeah,
kid and they're like trying to, I don't know.
it could be. No, it very well could be. You're right. I don't know. I
It
just
seems
feel like
very not
with
conducive
how
to a health.
crowded that
Yeah.
they showed that place, I'd be like, okay, non-essentials. I know, but you got to go home.
Yeah.
You got to go home. Unless they're on deathbed, you got to go home.
There's nothing else you could be doing right now.
Yeah, if you're like there and they have like a cut on their leg, like you don't need to be there. like go home. But it was definitely a very advanced hospital. Like you definitely got that vibe from it, that this wasn't like a shack somewhere.
Yeah, they had stuff.
But yeah, sorry. What was that?
They had stuff.
Yeah, it is. They had lots of stuff. So anyway, Ellie wakes up, starts screaming. She immediately goes to, the flashback, seeing Joel on the ground and all this stuff, of course. So they right away sedate her, put her back down, and then we get a dark screen. It comes back up. We see Jackson, and it says 3 months later.
Man, every time there's a time change, it shocks me. Like
Really?
it could say 1 day later on the screen, and I'd be like, "Whoa!" And I let out
Hold up.
a verbal whoa every time.
A verbal whoa.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want to be around you when that happens.
I just saw it again, and I was like, "Wow,
Wow, they did it
3
again.
months. Still 3 months."
I can't
Yeah,
believe it.
just-
They
and
did it again. Those crazy,
those bastards.
it's crazy bad.
Oh, you see, they go to Tommy and Jesse, who are rebuilding. We assume something that had been on fire or torn down in the fight somewhere. They're just building. And I made a note here saying Jesse is ripped.
Yep.
Yes.
He definitely looks stronger here now that we don't have like jackets and stuff on. We can now respect the fact that he is strong.
And Tommy is putting little effort into that piece of wood that he's hammering.
Yeah, Tommy looks a bit exhausted.
I've watched it 3 times now. He's barely even trying.
Yeah, he just looks exhausted. He looks tired. I think also though, like you look at like Joel was in his early 60s. Are we ever told where his age is at?
Joel can't be that old.
Well, they're brothers, so that's what they said. He's like, I'm in my early before he died. They're like, I'm in my early 60s doing whatever recon or something. Like, is that what he said? I'm pretty sure.
I trust you.
I don't.
So who knows how old Tommy is? Like I don't know. Maybe they say it somewhere in the lore, but
We just know he's
doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. It is what it is. But you can definitely tell he looks tired and worn out. And I think it's also kind of like he's a leader, in the community, especially probably now that Joel's gone. So I saw it a little bit symbolic as well, like because they keep talking about how Jesse's gonna be the leader maybe one day. He's very like follow the rules, straight edged, and it was almost kind of like I felt like it was like part of like, here, you're like an understudy for me. Here, come take this. Now you hit it. And of course, Jesse just obliterates the thing, just pounds it in like 3 hits.
3 straight shots.
Yep. Yep.
Not
He's
missed.
the Abby of this season. So
That's too soon.
Okay, sorry. Too soon. Too soon alert. Ellie's getting a then we go to Ellie getting a checkup back in the hospital. Obviously it's 3 months later, so she's doing much better. They give her like a little lung test because we can assume like her lung collapse. That's why. So they give her a little like thing to blow into to see, make sure the lungs have some pressure and do all that sort of stuff. And then so she passes out with flying colors, and then right away, the shrink Gale comes back in. And it's just these conversations with Ellie and a shrink. I just feel like they're so, I don't know, like Ellie could care less. And she just knows exactly what to say at this point to just try and get Gale off her back and let her out. I guess she hasn't really been out or been cleared, so she can't really do anything. She's probably getting driven nuts by not being able to go on like, her usual stuff.
And she probably
On
wasn't
top
stuck
of-
in the hospital, right? Like, she's probably just at home.
No, like they didn't say that she was stuck in the hospital, but there was parts that alluded to it. I didn't believe that she was. I'm like, there's no way this girl would stay in the hospital for 3 months. She'd break out somewhere.
yeah.
But I think basically she just can't like, go on like runs and go on recon stuff and, probably do a whole lot of lifting,
Right.
things like that, I guess. So they're talking with that, and then this is the kind of interesting part where Gale is a very smart character. Like, as much as we make fun of her and she's her demeanor and everything and how she treats everyone, she is very smart because she's picking up on the fact. She said she was talking about what Joel was talking about the last time they had this conversation, was like he's kind of alluded to that he lied to you, but that he also just ended it saying that he saved her. And Ellie doesn't know what to say about all this. She doesn't know anything. But you can kind of tell Gale is too smart. She understands there's still something going on here. There's still a lie or something that she doesn't know. Anyway, they move beyond that. They now go to Joel's house. They showed the outside of it where Ellie and Ellie's there, which again is very different because it's like, well, now she's been cleared. This is what made me confused.
That's what I was going to say.
Why do you get cleared and the first thing you do is go to Joel's house? Wouldn't you have done that earlier?
Which makes me think she was stuck in there the whole time.
I think she was stuck in there, that they had her on
Yeah,
the bed rest.
that would be terrible. That would be terrible. Like, can you imagine 3 months in a hospital?
It seems crazy. Like, especially like you said, for her character, she would have like, for how well she's actually moving, she would have broken out there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I think so too. I do think so. I mean, she's done way crazier things for less reason so far in this season.
Yeah.
So it seems crazy to me to believe that she's been held up in there all the time. Anyway, she goes to Joel's house, and we see flowers and just tons of stuff outside the door and mourning of Joel, obviously. So we get to see in this world how important he was to the town. He was not just some sort of traveler that came through that was just kind of off on his own. He was a major part of the town and its day-to-day functions. Ellie walks into the house. She kind of makes her way through. This is, again, very much like the game. You have this big scene in the game as well where you're slowly going through. Yeah, a lot of it was shot for shot. Yeah, camera angle matching up and everything. And then she finds this red box, which is placed on top of his bed, and opens it up. And the first thing you see is obviously the watch. Was it still broken? Or did someone fix it? Okay, it was broken. I couldn't tell on my screen if it was broken still or not. So you have the watch on top, and then there's a pair of jeans, and then underneath it was his gun. And obviously she takes the gun. And one thing I wanted to mention here was just kind of this whole, like, I think we have to be very aware of, I mean, and I was more for season 1. I haven't quite got into it season 2. A lot of the foreshadowing and the sort of a lot of objects meaning things in this show. And I think this whole ordeal of, like, you look at the gun, which is like, vengeance, sort of getting even, and you kind of have this layer on top of it where you have this, I think, this watch choosing, like, like kind of it's lost, move on, it's memory, like you got to forgive and move on. I think there's something to it that they're playing with a little bit here. kind of telling people like she had the choice here to leave the gun, take the watch, remember Joel, and just move on with life. But instead, she chose to take the gun, leave the watch, and we can kind of see where she's going with all this. I don't know if you guys are on the same wavelength or if I'm digging too much into this, but I'm starting to see more and more of this stuff pop up, and I'm thinking it's on purpose. Or is that crazy?
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I feel like Ellie's pretty one-track minded, where she's just gonna think like, there's no chance she's gonna sit in Jackson and just, all right, time to move on. Like, she'll never do that.
Yeah.
She's a very predictable character.
Yeah, like I would agree with that too. Like obviously, I think knowing what she is so far, we can agree that like the odds were always in the favor that she was going to pick up the gun. But I think the significant part is that now we're going to go on this journey, as we found out in this episode, and like at what point, you know, at what point is enough enough? When do you have to sort of learn beyond what you've done? I think it's just a good way of showing like, nope, she's not ready to forgive or anything like that, which is fine, because I don't think we'd expect her to do at this point. But I feel like it's just a nice sort of visual representation of that.
Yes.
Okay. She takes the gun, and then she goes to the closet, grabs some of his old dusty clothes that have been sitting there for months, has a good, nice emotional breakdown, kind of just, you
What a
know,
good cry.
like, yeah, it was a good cry.
It was a good cry.
Obviously very much misses Joel, and rightfully so. And of course, with the way the last conversation and the way things went, we can see how someone might feel that way. And then at that point, she hears someone call to her, and we find out this is Dina, who is waiting downstairs at the table. She says kind of like, thank you, like kind of like, you know, little conversation. Again, this is the first time we've seen them with our eyes. I mean, we assume stuff happened in 3 months, but it's the first time we've seen these two sort of, you know, have more time since like the kiss, because really we haven't had much time. The way the show has rearranged everything, these two characters have had little to no time since New Year's. Like they've basically had New Year's, they went out on a thing the next day, but they were separated because she was with Joel, and now she has injury, and then they kind of met back up, and we assume at the hospital they got to talk, but as people watching, it's the first time we've kind of had this sort of reuniting of characters, I guess.
Which again seems crazy for their characters.
Yeah, which again seems crazy. We can assume. We're gonna go ahead and assume that they talked. I'm gonna, because we also hear too. The next thing she says is, "Thank you for visiting me in the hospital." Because Ellie kind of just jokes like, "I probably wouldn't have come as much to the hospital to visit you," and might not be much of a lie. That's basically probably right where her character lies. Like she gets preoccupied with other stuff. So that's valid. So she kind of has this moment where she says, "Thank you for that," and that she does appreciate that. And then she kind of asks what the cookies are for that are there, and Dina says, you know, like, "Oh, these cookies aren't for like these aren't like get well soon cookies or anything like that." She's like, "You're gonna need these because I'm about to really piss you off." Cookies kind of like, "Here's some feel good about this, you know, forgive me before I give you this news." And she basically says, "I know the names and I know where they are and I know where they're going," sort of idea to her. Just saying, like, all this time, these last 3 months, I've known this. I haven't told you, so please forgive me. And that sort of scenario. Which again, this is all very much different than the game. In the game, it was literally the next day. She heads out, and Ellie heads out, and we could talk about the characters because we're gonna go over that too. But the characters that go out are also different, and the way they go out is a lot different. But at this point, you know, Ellie basically gets back in the game, has an injury, but gets right on the horse and just heads out. Here we have this 3-month break, and things are kind of slowly unfolding before us. So then we go talking about names and stuff. They talk about a patch and how it has a WLF on it. And she says she remembers talking about Eugene. There was a bunch of these like Federation groups. There's an acronym for it. I can't remember it. A bunch of these groups out in the Northwest in Seattle, and he joked about how they should just all join together. But for some reason, there's a bunch of these little pockets of stuff, and one of them is the WLF. Then they talk over the stuff. They then transition. We go and talk to Tommy and argue. They have an argument about how they will proceed. Here we get to see how, obviously Ellie and Dina to a certain extent is a little bit more, what do you call it? They're a little bit more like, hey, let's get out of here. Let's go find them. We know their names. Let's just go. And we see Tommy being a little bit more diplomatic in this scene. And being a little bit like, no, we have to take this to the council. We have to vote on it. We have to go through proper discourse here. He basically says, I want to do this as much as you, but we won't do it this way, is what he said. Kind of along those lines. Which again, if anyone remembers the game and how everything folds out, this is not how this works at all. It's actually Tommy, I believe, who brings the information to Ellie.
Yeah.
Because Tommy was the one with Joel at that time. So they bring the information. He's the one who actually kind of is a catalyst with this whole thing. He brings the information to Ellie. And later on, he was actually the first one out. He actually broke out of Jackson a day before. Like, he almost leaves immediately. Like, that first day they get back, he leaves a day before Ellie and Dina leave.
He just rides off, right? Like, rides off.
Yeah,
like,
he literally just rides off, and part of their mission is to go and get him back. They're going to go out there, get their vengeance, and they're also going to bring Tommy back.
Oh, that I don't remember what happens with that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of characters that are flipping positions and stuff, and I mean, we'll keep going over all this stuff. There's actually a lot of changes, so very interesting. So they have this whole thing. They bring it to Tommy, we talked about. He also has this mention at this point again, which makes me think she hasn't left. She hasn't been out of the hospital. He says he's buried 10 miles south of town. And basically she says, well, on my way to Seattle, I will visit it. Which again, would think if she was out and about, she probably would have visited this thing earlier. So I get it. It just, again, it's I don't know. In my head, I just don't believe that she would have not got out at some point. That was my only sort of bugaboo with so far with everything we've got. Are we good so far?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then Tommy's just pissed at Dina for, he says, you hold out information on me again, then something's going to happen. Like, he was pissed that she didn't tell him sooner about what she knew.
I mean, he was, and he wasn't. Like, it's so hard. Tommy's so level-headed in this sort of, like, he definitely is like the calming factor in their lives, which again, he isn't always in the game. Especially in this point. So it is a different role that he takes, but I think they're definitely playing up the fact again that he's kind of this wiser, older dude. And I'm good with it. I'm cool with it.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think to a certain extent, maybe he is trying to also, I don't know for sure if I'd say, but maybe he's trying to be a little bit more of like now that Joel's gone, a little bit more of like a figure in her life, trying to be a little bit more than just the adopted uncle.
They say it in the special features I watched that he feels like he needs to take on a more fatherly role to her.
Yeah.
Even though he knows that she's not going to stick around. But
yeah, exactly.
I think he just thinks that he's worried that she's going to, well, he talks to someone about that, about him being worried that she
talks to Gail.
Yeah, that she got a lot of Joel's tendencies.
Yeah. And that's coming up here real soon, but okay. Then we have a huge transition here. Suddenly we are shown a sign that says Seattle something rather, and we're with these people that we have not seen yet or got to meet anyway. Which again, this is a huge this part of this episode and the upcoming part is a large left turn. Not a large left turn, a decent left turn, kind of like what they did with Abby and how they changed the narration and kind of told you who they were before you got to see it. So we get to see these people who are in kind of these not older, but a cloak, sort of with a hood and some writing on their backs, and they're walking. They all got bow and arrows and hammers and things like that. These are called Seraphites. All right. You might hear later on people call them scars. The WLF call them scars. And the Seraphites, one thing I will mention when we get there, I'll mention actually in a little bit when it makes more sense. But you see these new people And you see this bald dude on a path, and he's whistling back and forth. So that, again, they don't. These people don't believe in technology. It's just like they are in the game. They don't believe. They're not using guns. They're not using all these sort of things. They believe. The Seraphites in the game partly believe that the fall of humanity was because of our greed, because of our overconsumption, because of all those things. So they're kind of more of a conservative sort of, we'll call them, I don't know what a group. I don't know what you call them, but that's what they kind of believe. So we see these dudes on a path. They're communicating with whistling, and we see that there's a guy way in the back, and then there's also a girl with we assume is a father or some sort of father figure as well. And she's kind of, breaking down what the whistles mean. She's like, okay, no one's seen, we are safe, keep going, or something along those lines, which is kind of interesting. Very creepy in the game. I will say you can hear whistles and things in the game as well. You can hear them do that, but they make it in the game, so it's really hard to figure out which direction it's coming from. So it's almost kind of a spooky factor because people are watching you, but you're not sure from where. They talk about this is where they kind of have that conversation about a prophet, and that they are getting that they're basically saying like, it was kind of a neat way of explaining it, that the prophet they follow is not like a god. The girl kind of made it sound like it was a god, and he's like, no, this person's not a god at all. This person was just someone who predicted the fall and made a lot of things that were correct, predicted a lot of things that were correct. So we kind of just follow their teachings and we kind of follow what they say. It's not so much like a religious cult as so much as a maybe following a wise person that they deem to be really, really smart. I don't know.
Sounds like a cult.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is a cult, but it also, I don't know, like it definitely is a cult. Yeah, it's just not a non-traditional cult. I'll call it.
They can't hear you.
They're not gonna come for you.
They can, yeah, they can, yeah. So let's see here. Talks about the prophet, has that explanation. And then they explain how they are getting distance from war. They're wanting to get away, so they're not actually looking probably for a fight. They're trying to get away from it. And then they finally hear this sort of whistle, and the whistle basically, AKA, means take cover. So they all hop off the road, go hide in the bushes, go lie down, and they kind of have this moment where they pan in on him, and he says, basically, she asks what the threat is, and he says basically it's wolves. Which again, I took it right away. Like it can mean two different things, because in the game, I'm pretty sure the Seraphites, I remember them calling the clickers wolves. So immediately I thought clickers. Later on, I thought they used the word because it's also a double thing, obviously, because you have the double WLF, which uses a wolf literally as their thing. You would assume it's them. And later on we find out that it's definitely not clickers because there's bullets involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting. I thought that they called them, they referred to some of the clickers as wolves as well, but maybe I'm mistaken in my memory. Maybe Poka can get us some clarification. I'll keep going in the meantime. Yeah, that's all good. And then we go back to Jackson. Ellie's boxing with Jesse, asking about the meeting, and kind of she's trying to gather the votes here. She's trying to ask like, hey, like how you gonna vote? And he just says like, hey, you need to settle down. I'm not gonna tell you how I'm gonna vote. Because again, he's very straight and narrow. He's not gonna share that kind of information. He's trying to keep it all sort of inside. But he did tell her, hey, you need to write stuff down. You need to get less emotional. You need to come about this in sort of a more adult fashion than we've seen Ellie do in the past, which is kind of interesting. But again, they do joke about how she was, she didn't, as much as she was in like the hospital, she was still doing sit-ups and doing some workouts when people weren't watching, to kind of get strong. But how she still isn't where she should be. She's like 80% of where she should be. So we know she's not, completely back, but she's on her way. Okay. Then we transfer to the town hall, which again, very cool. I love seeing this sort of stuff go down. This kind of shows how this town works. Meeting time. We immediately come into this guy named Scott talking about corn.
I love that.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So like who's the guy who shot himself in the leg last time? Remember they said someone like they're having a town meeting again. Who shot themselves in the leg?
I don't remember.
It wasn't Scott. It was
No, it wasn't
it was a
Scott.
2-syllable name, but I don't remember.
I'll take a look in a little bit when I can bring up my other notes, but it's
Sorry,
like there's
forgot about
always a
the other
doofus at every single one of these things. They're just sort of like hashing out. It's hilarious. He's got this dude talking about talking about they need to grow corn, and it's not a terrible idea. It sounds like he really is knowledgeable about what he's doing, but it's just funny because the town council's like, we're actually going to stop talking about this because this is not why everyone is here. Everyone came here to talk about what we're doing with this whole voting thing, and yeah, it's just funny because it also makes me think of all of my experiences in the 1,000 meetings I've had. How there's always one person who wants to start talking about something completely different. You're like, no, this is not why we're all here today. Can you please stop talking about this? Or maybe it's like that person, like you're talking about something and they always want to like bring up politics, or they always want to bring it back to something else that's off topic, and you're just kind of like, this is not why we're here today.
It's the worst.
It is the worst when someone always is hijacking the conversation and putting it back onto something different.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a good time. Anyway, so they basically tell him to zip it. And then the town starts having the meeting. We have a few people talking here. The first two, the woman stands up and says like, "Hey, a bunch of people, we just got attacked. We're really weak at this time." That's me at the oh my goodness, Gurga, I can't believe you'd say that. How this woman's saying like, we can't sacrifice sending 16 people, because I guess that's what they're asking for, is 16 people. We can't sacrifice 16 people. We've already lost a lot of people. They just came through the wall. We got a lot of work to do. And saying like we should not be doing this. The next person also says like, this is a perfect time to be forgiving, and this is why we're different than everyone else outside the wall. This is what makes us us and them. That we should also forgive and just move on here. With this. And then the third person who's on time is Seth. Again, Seth is the guy who got pushed down from Joel. And that sort of was a conflict of a character, but has been trying to turn the pages here a little bit. And he kind of stands up and basically says, "You guys have all gone soft. This is stupid. If they know we won't fight back, they're just going to come do it to us again. And you guys are stupid for thinking that we should not go back after him." So he's the complete opposite again. He's like, we need to get out. We need to mobilize. We need to send a message back to these people that we are not someone to be messed around with. And kind of, again, you can feel that I think he actually does mean this, but I think he's also partially doing this for Ellie as well. You do kind of, I sense the remorse in his sort of demeanor there. I think that's safe. Or are you feeling different?
No, I give you that. I would say safe is a good way to say that.
Ostrich, you feeling that? I feel you looking around. I don't know if you're thinking the same thing.
I don't know.
You can almost see
You
the
don't know?
smoke.
Like,
Yeah, you see the smoke.
he's doing it like, just like he obviously needs to disagree with that other guy just because he doesn't feel that way at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he has anything against Ellie. Like
No, I don't think he has anything against
no.
Ellie. I just think again, this is him trying to make amends for the whole awkward situation on New Year's.
Could be,
I think. I mean, I think he believes it also, but I also think this is part of him being like, "Hey, I got your back. Like,
right.
I'm sorry, I got your back." Anyway, so then that gets scratched off there. We see a list of names, and it's Ellie's turn. And she did write about it. She wrote it down exactly how Jesse had described that she should. And she likes to say this is not about revenge, even though we know it's about revenge. She's trying to make it just. So she's saying this is about justice and everything. That's all it's about. Nothing more, nothing less. We don't want to be strangers to one another. She says, if one of you are hurting, I want to be there to help you. I know if any of you were hurt, we would do the same, or I would do the same. I'd be right there with you. And that all she wants to do is just see justice done, which again, we all know her. We're aware of what's going on here. This is vengeance, but she did a good job of trying to sell it. And then basically she says her piece, and they say they're going to vote. There's 11 voters, and it essentially gets voted down 8-3. So it's not even close. They don't want to send it. Basically, the message here too, which is hard to disagree with, is like we get Joel's a major part of the town, but everybody lost people.
Yeah.
Everybody lost people. And I get yours was a different situation, but they were kind of like everybody lost people here. There's no reason why we need to be chasing after a group at this point. And it's hard to argue with the thought of it, right? Like you got a very good situation going there. We don't need to send people, literally state lines over
Yeah.
to go chase other people on
Sending
horseback.
16
Like,
people on a revenge tour for the sake of revenge. Like, they're going back to Seattle.
yeah,
I don't think Seth really has a point because it doesn't seem like the group actually wants anything to do with them. Like, there was
Yeah.
nothing that showed that they wanted to go after Jackson Hole. So I don't
Yeah.
think that what he says is actually right. But
Oh, I'm not saying it. I was never saying it was right or correct.
no, yeah.
But what I was saying is that it's his standpoint of like, okay, everyone said no, and he's gonna stand up and say yes, and call him to kind of just be like the Ellie voice, the what Ellie would really want to say. Like he said what Ellie would have said if she didn't write stuff down.
Right. Yes.
And so he got to play that out for her a little bit.
You gotta know that you're in the wrong when you're agreeing with that guy. Like
at this point, you just
At
know
this
it's
point,
wrong.
like there's like warning alarms should be going off. Like if you're
Yeah.
not necessarily agreeing with him, but just like if for her, like for Ellie, like I want. There should have been a
Yeah.
moment there when he's like yelling at them, calling them all cowards or whatever. That she's like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with this guy. Maybe, maybe
But
I'm the
also,
patty.
just to kind of play devil's advocate here too, like you can also see how, given everything we see in the first 2 episodes, as much as they are prepared and as much as there's lots of policies in place and things, they are kind of soft. Like the recon of like, oh, we found blood, we have to go back. Oh, we found like there's no real like, it's not like a like it's very soft. As much as they are out and about, it's not like it was Joel and Ellie were kind of the badasses in the group, and everyone else is kind of just like, oh, we found blood, let's go back and tell mom and dad so they know, and then oh, we found this, let's go tell these people. Like they wouldn't know a lot of things if they didn't push forward. So I can kind of see what they're saying as well. But you're right, it is a long travel. It doesn't really make much sense, I would say, in a post-apocalyptic world to go on a giant adventure.
Well, I don't think they've had to deal with too many other like people. Like they say their group keeps growing, but I don't think they've talked about having like people try to ransack them or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like for the
No,
most part, people just come in and who are looking for a place to live.
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
and
Oh,
obviously, like
100%. Like they haven't.
zombies,
You're right.
but not people.
We haven't been told about any other people other than these that have really come close that are trying to maybe do them harm. Like we haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
So like it is interesting that that they don't have to be worried about it, but also I would say like for someone who's patrolling around the outside, they missed a giant like 1,000 zombies piled up right near their base, not far off. Like they didn't venture far enough to take a look. There's new hunters that are just up the mountain at the next convenience store, like these new clickers that they had no idea about. Who knows how long it's been there. They're setting a perimeter, but they're not doing a great job of like actually extending out beyond that perimeter.
Right.
So they're doing a good job, but it's the bare minimum, I would say, just for fear, I think sometimes. Anyway, so it gets voted down 8-3. Gail is also at this thing. There's a bunch of people up top. So Gail and Tommy and all these people are all sitting around. Tommy's on the council. So and there's some people I saw, like I saw some people tweet about this too. They were trying to calculate the votes were all kind of put up one on top of the other, so you kind of see who voted for who.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't remember who it was. Like it was Tommy and it was someone else. I think Jesse voted no was the big one there though. Jesse voted no.
Well, that's what I was
which
trying
again
to figure out. There was no like
doesn't surprise me.
interaction with that. There was no calling out. Like there wasn't any follow-up scene, which I figured there might be on that, where she would just like yell at Jesse for doing whatever.
Well, it could be, but she might also not know. Like she doesn't get the camera view that we got when they were all
No,
stacking
for
them one
sure.
on top of the other. She doesn't know. I don't think, but it was kind of interesting. Yeah, because kind of see how things were shaken out a little bit. I didn't go back and like watch it step for step, but you could definitely
No.
see where certain things were there. Okay, town. We're done with that scene. We move on to baseball in the town. All right, the kids still get to play baseball, which is kind of cool. At least they have some more. We get to see more aspects of life that are normal. Um, Claire is Claire the shrink is sitting out in right field in the game with a cooler, drinking her homemade brew.
Sure.
And
I love
it looks like she's not that far out there. Like if one of those kids got a hold of the ball, she would just be right there with them. You know what I mean? Um, so it's interesting. Um, she's just sitting out there, just having a good time. She says basically she's got season tickets to Tommy there. Um, and yeah, and she's just having a great time, and we get to see a bit of her sort of, I call it the Gong Show side of her, which is hilarious. But Tommy doesn't want to go. Tommy keeps talking to her about like this is where we kind of hear about like what Ostrich was talking about, how he's trying to be a little bit more of a father figure to Ellie, how he doesn't want her to go down the same path as Joel and all those things. So this is where I think Gail has a really good sort of perspective piece where she says basically, like some people can't be saved, is what she says. Like,
Which
it's not just, she was talking nature and nurture, and she said, was it really nurture? Sometimes you can't fix people. Like, was it really Joel dragging along Ellie, or was it Ellie coming alongside Joel? Meaning, basically, they're the same human being that just happened to find each other, and they both had vengeance, and they worked well together, right? Not the
yeah,
fact
that's
that
interesting.
you know anything really happened there. I don't know. I thought that was very, like, again, for someone who's probably a few beers in, sitting in the outfield, having some really good perspective that, like, do you know what, it wasn't necessarily Joel that screwed up Ellie. Like, they were in a screwed up situation and they just kind of went together. Does that kind of make sense? Is that anything
Yep.
I missed there?
Nope. I got the same thing from you
Oh,
or from
yeah.
that.
Okay, good. It's a very cool scene. I like it. Again, Gale's not a character we get in the game. Baseball is nothing we ever see in the game. Um, all these things that sort of build this world out, especially the world of Jackson, we haven't seen before. So I actually really enjoy that part. I was really glad to see something like this. Okay. Um, we now see it's like nighttime. We're at Ellie's still, even with Joel gone, Ellie's still living in the garage. Um, and the camera view shows like she's clearly gearing up to leave. She has every gun she owns down there.
A lot of stuff.
And how does she have
Absolutely.
guns? That is a massive collection of guns. Dina comes around, knocks on the door. Of course, Ellie's trying to do this all secretly. She doesn't want anyone to know because it was shot down. She shouldn't be going. But she kind of sits there and asks, basically saying like, "Oh, I'm going to sleep." And Dina's like, "No, you're not. I know what you're doing." Like, Dina knows her better. She's like, "I know exactly what you're doing. Let me in. I'm not buying your lies about going to sleep." So Dina comes in and basically says, asks her questions like, "Do you know where you're going? Do you know what you're doing?" She's like, "I'm going to go northwest." And she's like, "Oh yeah, just northwest? Like, you have no idea what route you're taking, what landmarks, anything." So basically Dina comes in and she's the brains behind the operation. Immediately says, basically has a giant map of the northwest, puts it down, says, "Look, we're going to go through here. We're going to avoid all major roads. We're going to avoid all major things and do this as smart as possible to get to Seattle." She then goes over as well. She's like, "We're going to need to get rid of your chucks, or you're going to need your shoes to be gone. Like, those are really great, but we're going across. Like, you need to be smart about this. We're gonna need medicine. We're going to go pack really light, which is kind of like the game. Like, she's like, you're gonna need a backpack and a holster. That's it. You got to fit everything inside of it. Any pants or anything you bring along, make sure they're full of bullets. Like, fill the pockets full of bullets and get it put away. Like, we're gonna need all this sort of stuff." So you can tell, like, Dina has put some work into this, as Ellie was more like, "Here, I'm gonna take a gun and I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna kill some people." And I don't think it also shows. Oh, sorry, what was that?
No, I was just laughing. Yeah.
Oh, it also shows, in my opinion, where you see kind of Ellie not knowing the world, very naive about where they're located and where someone else might be located, and how maybe Joel, in the first one, was the person who did all of the navigation and preparation and things like this that, she never had to think about. So it's kind of interesting. Um, So they do all that, and she mentions to him, "Hey, we're gonna leave at 3 a.m." And then they just depart, and then right away the next scene is Ellie sneaking out of the town with Sparkle, right? Sparkle is the horse's
Shimmer.
name.
Shimmer,
Oh,
right?
Shimmer, that's right. It was something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Shimmer. Um, with Shimmer, she has the horse, and you see Seth and Dina come out of the bushes, where Seth is holding a rifle with a giant scope on it, and basically tells Ellie like, "Hey, let's trade guns. Don't argue with me." He basically says, "Right, don't argue with me. This gun is way better," and she knows it's way better, so they do the trade. Again, being another sort of like last sort of um, hurrah, like I'm sorry, I didn't. We're more alike than you know, maybe. Just trying to mend things again, which again is admirable. Um, and then they also explain here. This is where they have the explanation where he says like, "Oh, I'd come along, but I've been wounded because if you saw him move before, you suddenly realize he's moving with a limp." Basically, he said it was friendly fire. So when they had the attack, it was friendly fire, which is funny because we were all joking last time about how like these people are firing by one another. How was no one getting hit? It turns out, yeah, someone got hit, and that guy was Seth. And then of course, right away, that's when Ellie makes a joke like, "Are you sure it was friendly? Are you sure it wasn't on purpose?" Basically, like, um, which is kind of funny. Again, they have a good chuckle about that.
Her one
Um,
redeeming like comment with him. Other than that, she's just pissed off and serious the whole time.
yeah, but they shake hands at the end and
They
they go
do.
their separate way. He opens up the door, and again, we also get the vibe here as well. He says like, "Oh, don't worry." Like we have a gap here. You can go out. The people have moved security. There are people who are loyal to our cause, basically,
Mhm.
what he said, which is good. So then you know that there is more support in the town than what she experienced with the council.
Yeah, he's pulling a bunch of
Um,
strings.
yeah, exactly. Um, they shake hands and leave. Okay. On the way through, they stop by at Joel's grave. Again, we get this really sort of red, sort of evening glow. And at this point, she goes and visits the graves. We see them all. It's all red. And she has something in her hand, which she then drops and puts down right in front of him. And we look at him, and it is coffee beans.
Hmm.
Um, does anyone have a theory on this?
Did
Because
not.
I do.
I couldn't remember if it was a reference to something. I looked at the coffee beans and I thought, okay, because I don't remember
It
where it
is.
came from.
It is. Like using the game. There is a flashback. So the night. So maybe this isn't spoilers, but maybe it is. So just skip 5 minutes or something if in the video if you don't want to hear this. But this isn't really a spoiler. But my guess is what's happening is there is a flashback in the game um where he is talking about how rare coffee is, because of the whole like there being no imports. He makes a joke about it. Um and I think we're going to get a flashback where on the New Year's night where everything popped off, that she never really talked to him in that scene, but I'm gonna believe that at some point she came back out and they had a conversation. Um, because that was really one of the last times that we see them communicate before they leave the next day, right? Like sometime between then and then, I think maybe they come back out and they talk. Even though I know in the show, um, she had kind of said like, "Hey, our last conversation didn't go well."
Right.
Um, I still think maybe she's not telling the truth there either because she is kind of a liar. Gail calls her a liar. Uh, Maybe that's not the whole truth
Well,
because she just kind of storms by him in episode 1 there. They go ripping by. I think maybe that's not the end of the conversation, that it cuts short and we're going to get some sort of flashback where it still isn't positive. She's still yelling at him, but maybe he is drinking his coffee there on the deck when she comes back at him. And this is kind of that callback. And I think it's going to kind of have that payoff if you're paying attention. I
mm,
think. I don't know. You guys kind
interesting.
of understand what I'm saying?
Yep. I
Yep.
understand what you're saying.
Because we are going to get more Pedro as this goes. Like Pedro's not done. We are going to get flashbacks. We are going to get other things.
Well, the way that she talks
Um,
about it with Gail too, she does say like, the Gail says, whatever, you didn't like the way things ended, kind of thing, and then she talks about how the final moments or the final kind of comments you have with a person shouldn't kind of dictate your whole relationship.
Yeah.
And then Gail's like, "Yep, you're right," and she's like, "But it does."
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
so
Basically, yeah, it kind of does. Um, so that's my prediction because you literally put the coffee beans down. And I'm sure everybody is so confused what's going on there. And it is a bit on the nose. Like we know because no one knows anything about this at this point. No one knows what's going on there. So you know something's gonna come up eventually, and it's gonna be like because they, if they weren't panned right in on it and zoomed right in on it, um, I think maybe you'd be a little more suspicious or you wouldn't notice it. It'd be one of those things that later on we could talk about, like, hey, there's a callback, and he's drinking coffee out on the porch, and joking about coffee, and now we see this, and it's pretty cool
mhm,
little Easter egg. But this seems like it's gonna be made a point later on. So I think that's what's gonna happen. I in the game it's different. I will say in the game it's different. There is a coffee scene. I'm not gonna say anything about it, but it's not set up on that day. But I think because of the way the timeline works out, I think this is how it's gonna work out. I think there's gonna be a thing where he's still sitting on the deck. Maybe he's made a cup of coffee. She's gonna come storming back up and be like, "Hey, I don't need your protection." They're gonna have a nice little argument, hashing it out there again. Things still won't end well, and then that's the part we get to see later, and maybe helps kind of fuel her anger for what she's doing.
interesting.
So go ahead and lock that in the vault prediction vault. Um, yeah. Okay. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked here. All these thoughts. Um, okay. So now we get the travel montage. I have here mega travel montage. Which is cool because again in the game, we don't get this. It's literally we head out and then boom, we're in Seattle. We don't get the travel montage, and they're having a good time getting to know each other. They're talking about bands, going through the whole alphabet. Um, and talking about who's the first person you killed, which I guess in this world is a thing you talk about, right? Like who's the first person you killed, who's the first person. um and Ellie says it's kind of messed up. She doesn't want to talk about the first person she killed, but she will talk about the second, which is the guy in from the first season,
Yeah.
where she saved Joel's life in that convenience store in the city there, which is kind of good. I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, we would have seen this. Who was it? But I'm trying to also remember because obviously playing the games. Do we know who the first person is that she killed? Probably a
She
family member or something.
thinking it was her friend that turned or that kid.
Oh, that's right. Wow, I completely forgot about that episode and the DLC. It's a DLC one, right? Does
I
she end
don't
up
know if
killing her?
it's I don't know because she turns, doesn't she?
Yeah, like she
Oh,
doesn't get out. Why can't I remember that? I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember the details of how it ends. Oh, now I'm gonna have to take a look at that. Maybe it is that
in
one.
the
Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, we'll take a look into that.
in the
So
game,
let's
it's
talk about bands.
Ellie
What was
asking
that?
Dina the question,
Yeah.
but in the show,
Oh.
it's Dina asking Ellie.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
because Ellie asks her, and then Dina says she was 10 years old, and then says some dude was charging her mom and she stabbed him,
Oh, okay.
was what Dina says. So Dina's got blood on
Hmm.
her hands.
Dina's got blood on the hands. Um, first people kill, and then Dina predicts. She kind of says off, so they're traveling, and she kind of has this fun conversation again, showing the character of Dina that she is not just like this, like hey little like bubbly girl. Like she knows what she's doing out here, from preparing and all these things to suddenly just looking up and being like, hey, next clearing you see, we need to take it. So they find the next clearing, they set up camp, and of course it's raining. We're in the land of Seattle. It's just raining. Or close to Seattle anyway. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Um, and they kind of have a joke about like, how'd you know it was gonna rain and stuff? And Dina says she's basically a witch, which is pretty funny. Um, uh, Dina also then brings up a question about New Year's. So again, this scene reminds me of the scene we kind of got robbed. Not robbed. Rob makes it sound terrible, but that we lost because of how they switch characters on us. We didn't get like the marijuana scene with Dina and Ellie. When they were held up together. Instead, the characters flipped. It was Jesse, right, and Ellie. So we never got that. And now we're kind of getting that sort of scene back again. Um, which is kind of cool because that was a really good scene. So we get some of that. It's not obviously one for one. It's not quite like the game, but we get at least some of it back.
The game is a little bit
Um,
more sexy, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yep.
I still like
So
the
now
scene a
they're
lot. I think it's
oh I do too. It's
every
fantastic.
every scene that Dina's in makes me like her more and more.
Yeah.
I know
She's
it's
good.
crazy. I'm scared what they might do with the character, like taking liberties with her and stuff. Because I'm like, Tang, you are. I'm thoroughly enjoying you. Like this is you're witty, you're fun, you're useful. Like it's just like it's everything. So I hope Dina hangs around for the long haul here. Um, so yeah, Dina has the question about New Year's and talking about the kiss, and she wants a rating. She wants a rating. She wants to know how she was. Basically saying because she basically says out loud again, like it's kind of also you feel. I'm just going my feelings here. Like it looks like Dina also doesn't really know if she is like gay or not, or bi curious. Like it doesn't seem like she's aware of what's. She's still trying to figure it out. Is probably the best way of saying it. It seems like to me with all these questions and sort of the vibe I'm getting from her because she's asking what to kiss. She's like, "Well, you've kissed girls before. I haven't. Like, tell me how it was." And so Ellie kind of says, "Hey, it was good. Like, it was a 6." And she's like insulted by this. She's like, "A 6? Like, this sucks." And she's like, "Well, it's not a big deal. Like, you were high and I was drunk. It is what it is." And so then Dina makes a comment thereafter about how like she went back to Jesse. She made a comment there about how in these last 3 months she went back to Jesse for a little bit, but it kind of sounds like things still aren't good. Like it's almost
Mhm.
like Jesse's the only real option, so she's kind of keeps falling back to him. Um, but it doesn't. She's not really into him. Does that make sense? Like it's like here's a town. This is my option. He kind of bores me, and he's kind of sad, is what she says. Like he's just kind of sad. They're kind of joking, or not really joking, but talking about how this needs to be him. Do you think that's just him that he's sad, or if not, it is just sad, or if that's the way he is, type stuff? Like it's not things you want to be talked about. I would say as a significant other is being
Yeah.
sad.
And it just
Um,
like he goes back to him, and then Ellie says, "Of course he did." Like it just sounds like those two seem to be the only two options because there's not a whole lot of teenagers or early 20s kids like them. Like you got those two, and then you got Ellie who likes chicks. So
yeah,
there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of options.
not a lot of options out there, but they kind of have this again. This is kind of sweet moment. Like Dina again it feels flirtatious. Like it feels flirty, but it's also kind of not. Like she's almost like she's fighting sort of what's going on here, but not really. I don't know. It's weird.
How does the
Um,
look Dina's got in her face? She's like
yeah, I
she's
know.
flirty.
She is for sure, right? But she's also I feel like making very obvious very obvious statements like, "Hey, you're gay. I'm not." She literally says at one point, "Tell me how the kiss was." Like
Mhm.
I haven't kissed other girls before. Blah blah blah. So it is different. But Dina then says, the lights turn off. They roll over. They're going to sleep. But then Dina kind of says from her side of the tent, just like, "Hey, I wasn't that
It
high."
wasn't that
Like
high.
again, the most like crazy thing you could say after saying like, "Hey, I'm not gay and you are," but like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, pick a lane.
Just a tease.
Yeah, just a huge tease. That's a good way of putting it. Suddenly it's snap back to sorry, not snap back. Now we go forward to the next day and we're on a path. And a path that we have seen before. This is
Never
the
seen
path that we saw the Seraphites on earlier in the episode. I noticed it right away. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is that path." Immediately.
Before
Because
we
I was like, "Oh, what?
continue,
Okay."
can you look at the chat that we have and check out how much effort I just put into you locking away your prediction in the vault?
Okay, hold on here. It might go. Their faces might go weird here, folks. Don't panic. Pull it over here so I can see something.
Check out
Chat.
your this is you predicting
Did you
a
put that to
picture.
AI?
Yeah. The second one worked out a whole lot better.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I like that.
He's a little bit older than I
Oh,
wanted him to be, but
that's okay. That's my hairline's still correct. um, so we're back on this path, the ones the Seraphites were on earlier, and they come across a dead person. So They stop, obviously, and they're very suspicious. So they get off the horses. They got their guns. They go up to this dead person, and they kind of immediately look. Oh, sorry, I'm burpy. They look at her and look at this person, and you can kind of see there's bullet holes, and things going on here. So you know it's not them because they don't have guns. So obviously it's not like some sort of friendly fire situation or anything like that. You know there's another player at play here, and
Players gonna play.
yeah, players at play. They'd be playing out here in the forest with the guns. So then we find out that she turns around. She's like, Dina, where are you? And Dina comes flying out of the beside the path and starts puking behind a sort of this sort of, I don't know, it's a box or something, some stuff there. Starts puking away, and she kind of has a little like again, if you're paying attention, you know the game. Start having a few conversations here. It's like, yeah, wow, you've never puked like that before, type thing, and that was kind of weird. But you should go over there and take a look at what that was. So they go over there, and it's the rest of the crew that we saw walking on the path. You see women and children, and the girl and the guy, and they've all been basically slaughtered right where they were. They're all kind of spread out. Few people look like they'd maybe ran, but like the guy and the girl were basically in the exact same spot.
Yeah, didn't
That
move at all.
they didn't move at all. Like they literally just ran in there and just slaughtered everybody. Um, so at this point, we are led to believe we are led to believe at this point that the WLF are very unhappy with this group, or maybe they're just unhappy with everybody in general because with the whole thing of like, hey, the wolves are coming. We know that they're a big pack and they're up in this area. That they make the mention of, hey, there's a bunch of different caliber of bullets here, so there's a lot of different guns going on. It wasn't like it was one gun. We probably have multiple people with things happening here. Um, it's kind of interesting, but we'll see. We get to see more here really shortly. They end up on a highway. Again, think of a post-apocalyptic highway. Everything's overgrown. We see Seattle. It's 9 miles more, and they make a comment here about just how crazy quiet it is. It's a little too quiet, and they don't like how quiet it is. Again, so you kind of figure out their suspicions are already getting, they're getting more and more suspicious as they're going here. We then get a change of perspective. We're up on top of a giant platform or tower, sorry, where Manny is working the radios, and he's on the binoculars and giving information. Basically saying like, they're asking, hey, can we move up? Can we move up? And we assume this is WLF at this point. And then he's like, yeah. He's kind of fed up with it. He's like, yeah, you can move up. There's no one there. And we see basically this small battalion shows up here, fully armored. We got armored vehicles and tanks and things of all sorts coming down there. These guys have like army helmets, and they have ARs, and they may not have they might not have the full-fledged electricity in city. We don't know yet for sure, but they definitely have wartime army stuff. Like they are well equipped. And which is funny because we didn't mention it, but just before this, they're joking about how like, hey, there's no people here. Maybe these people are rinky-dink small timers. They probably don't have the people and yada yada yada. And it turns out no, that is completely opposite. These people looks like they're gearing up for a war. They're in full helmets. You don't just have that many people walking around for fun. You are trying to kill something with that many people, in my opinion. So we get to see like, hey, this is not going to be an easy task. There's tons of people. Yeah. And that's where the episode ends, folks.
And it's got that actor.
Actor? Which actor?
The guy at the end of this, the one who maybe is one of the leaders of the WLF, who we've been shown for the first time, is the same guy from Westworld.
Oh, do we see him here? Do we see him at he's going to be Isaac. I guarantee you it. He's going to be Isaac.
Oh, he's in scenes from the next one.
Yeah, he's in scenes from the next one. But yeah, you do see him, and I know they've released him before, but like pictures of him. He will be Isaac. He's going to be the leader of the WLF. Yeah, that'll be the man. Yeah, the scenes from next time are pretty crazy. We're gonna talk about that too. That's a
Woof.
it's a
Yeah.
good one. So there we go. That's full synopsis. Is that what they call it? Sure. The
Yeah.
full rundown of that
Right.
episode. What do we miss? What are things you want to mention? Guide me, boys.
I think it's wild how the Seraphites don't seem to have effectively hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Like they were hiding, but they got their hammers, man. Like they didn't kill anybody. They just got all massacred, which is, I guess, too bad for them.
Too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
Too bad, so sad.
Seattle looks cool.
Yep.
I
Oh, yeah.
again, I feel like me going forward, I don't know what exactly happens. Like I know a little ways past.
Oh,
but
okay. So you actually are at this point now where you're completely blind.
I'm starting to remember things. I remember this, like there's the cinema, which doesn't mean anything, but there's scenes that take place in there. And that's kind of what I remember. But
Oh man.
yeah, I think I'm gonna be in for some stuff.
Oh man.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Seraphites because again, that is the huge. That's one of the big left turns in this this version of The Last of Us because in the game you're not given any backstory on these people. You're literally Ellie. You end up going through Seattle or the outskirts of Seattle and places like that, and you find these characters who are like presented as very very tribal and like sort of um they've been known to like skin people and hang them up on things. Like they're just very sort of I don't know, just like the worst parts of this world, right? Like
Mhm.
these people are terrible. They have bow and arrows and things and they just like slaughter people along the way. That's what they're presented as. But in this, again, we flipped it. They seem kind of like they said, "Hey, we're trying to get away from war. We're trying to get out of here. People are trying to kill us. We're not trying to fight back here." But then he also makes a point too, which I didn't bring up. The little girl's talking to him and she asks for a weapon and he just gives him the hammer. She's like, "Can I have the hammer?" She's like, "Yeah, here's the hammer." He's like, Do you feel safe now? Like, do you actually feel safe?" And he says, what does he say there? Does anyone remember? He says like the hammer basically is not going to protect you. Like that's not safe. Like safe is getting to where we're trying to get to. That is safe. This hammer is not safe.
I'll have it in a
Like people
second
can
here,
die with
Mark.
weapons in their hands. It's not safe.
And what? Boy,
That
was
ki-
that proven.
And boy, was that proven. Yeah, like that they were trying to get to this place and they couldn't get there. So they are definitely portrayed in this episode. I will say now things can change.
Yeah.
This is only episode 3, but they are portrayed as far more of like almost refugee status. Like they're just trying to get away from something. They're being persecuted, which I mean, they were not led to believe any different after they're gunned down. So they might be onto something. And based on what the game, I'm curious to see what actions they take. I wish I could say more without rooting future stuff, but at the rate we're going here, we'll get some more information on this. I think in the next 2 or 3 episodes, on the relationship between the Seraphites and the WLF. So it is interesting. Again, they're showing some of the Seraphites cards just like they did with Abby. Abby, they said they showed her cards before we met her. Same thing with these guys. Before we got a chance to meet them in battle, they're saying like they're showing these people like, okay, they're not like the most terrible of human beings. They're also just trying to find their place on this earth.
Seems like that's just the
Essentially.
theme with The Last of Us in general, right? Like everyone has a reason for what they do, and once they introduce you to that reason, then I mean, it depends how much they've kind of played with it, but how bad you're supposed to feel, like, or how, yeah, like with the Abby thing, like,
Yeah.
are we supposed to like her already? Because we don't, because they didn't also include it all. Like, she's just still the one who murdered Joel and then ran away.
Yep.
So we don't like her yet.
No, for sure we don't. But like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's. I don't think we're supposed to like her, but I think we're supposed to understand motives and
Yeah.
kind of be able to place people where they're at. As we're like in the game, you don't know motives until you as a 'cause we have the benefit obviously as a show of bouncing around between characters. We don't do that in The Last of Us. We are Ellie, right? We are Ellie, and that's the perspective we get. So we don't get a chance to, unless we stumble across a conversation, we don't get any backstory from the Seraphites, from the WLF, from anybody, like from Abby, right? We don't get any of that because we're playing as Ellie, so we get one perspective, um, and so I think this is the benefit of the show is that maybe they can reorder how things are presented to you and maybe make it more meaningful, the interactions, as opposed to just being like, hey, these people are crazy and they hunt people and they, you know, maybe they're just hunting people because you're on their land, like type thing. Like you're in their area,
Right.
right? So it is interesting. I do like that that they are changing it up again. Why not? Why not? So throw me for a loop a little bit.
Well, and especially when you have the guy who
Um,
creates the games, like hanging out with them the entire time, having a lot of say in what goes on. Like he's
yep.
gonna try to make it make sense for TV in a good way,
Well, and you
right?
have
'Cause
to, right?
yeah,
You have to, because I agree with it. Like there are certain changes. Like this is where we talk about like the difference between mediums, like or the difference between how these games are presented. One's a
mhm,
game, one's a show. You can't you can't make a one for one copy of a game because you're not in charge of that character. You're not locked into that character. You can tell a different story. You can tell a more compelling story because you can change locations. Um, and that's just part of the medium, right? And I think they're doing a very good job of filling out worlds, filling gaps into things that we didn't know we needed more of. I really do appreciate it. I was expecting, again, I know I've said this for the first two. I was expecting this one to be um, a lot more mourning, a lot more slow, a lot more of gearing up for this war path. And it was all those things, but at no part did I feel like we were just stuck in the mud.
no, nope. I
Yeah.
expected it to be worse than it was.
Like you
Worse in
don't
terms of
they
pacing. Like I was gonna be bored.
they oh yeah, for sure. Like they give you the moments to feel, like to be like, oh, this character, Joel is gone. Oh, they give you these moments, but they don't dwell on them. It kind of goes like, okay, and like so this has happened, and I'm gonna go do this now. Oh, this is now happening, and we need to go do this.
Yep.
And because this happened, now we need to go do this, and we're constantly being pushed forward um, through this. I think.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
It also helps when you time jump. Like if you're hopping three
Yeah,
months later, whatever it is, then that's obviously gonna change.
gonna change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else? You were talking about Seraphites and what else? Was there anything else you wanted to mention that was different or uh, wanted some attention? You did mention in our Discord, you did mention how Jackson was actually built as a full-fledged city.
Yeah. Want to talk about that. Like there was you look at the special features and there's pretty much nothing green screened with it. Like everything is built like they have a couple of blocks that are built out for the city,
Yeah.
which is a crazy amount of work if you're going to do it for 2 episodes or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're still going to get some kickbacks to Jackson. I don't know in what way, but
Okay.
I feel like you have to for the sake of the budget.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I
Yeah.
kind of agree on that front too. Like, but okay, so I'm trying to remember here. Because I remember at some point reading that and I'd since forgotten. But then when you posted it, I went like, oh, I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere on like when they were getting ready to shoot season two.
Mm,
They had mentioned how they had built out this town. Now, was it an existing town that they retrofitted, or was it completely from the ground up? Like,
completely ground up. The first season they
yeah, it's
shot
pretty
in
crazy.
Wyoming, I think.
The first season?
Like the first
No, a bunch of it
town,
was in Alberta.
but the town itself was already created in the first season that they just plunked in different props to make it look
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
Jacksonville.
yeah,
But this one they straight up built
yeah,
over the
yeah.
winter
They
time.
straight up built this, one, which is crazy.
Just like,
But honestly, you look at some of
holy.
the budgets. You look at some of the budgets on like these episodes, just from like CGI and stuff. Like your common episode, and you're like, I don't even know if it's any cheaper anymore to do CGI. When you
Yeah.
look at how much, like, oh yeah, we spent 15 million on CGI. I'm like, wait, like what? like, like okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You could have probably done a lot of this stuff practically for 15 million. Like,
Well, and they tried to, especially for the second episode, they tried to do as much practical as they could. So
yeah,
they had like 100 extras running around with zombie makeup on.
which
Um,
is sweet.
That is pretty
Obviously, the
sweet, yeah.
horde sprinting at them would have been all CG because it's just a whole lot easier. But the ones
Yeah.
that were in the town and they kind of round that corner and
Yep.
charge Tommy, they had all real and then they overlaid it with CG ones as well.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, it just looks, and you're right, it doesn't look like there was the running thing and then the dogs, but that was really it.
Dogs look
That
good
was
too.
CGI. Like, and I like that. Like, that is, like, of course, I think everyone likes that. Like, no one's sitting there giving like, yeah, like, give me as much CGI as possible. I don't want anything practical. I want everything to look like it's not quite right. Like, no, like, that's complete opposite. We know that. Right? Like, we can all agree that Lord of the Rings has aged pretty good because it doesn't have 2003 level CGI going, like, not a lot of it, right? Like,
Mm.
at this point, it starts to show some of its cracks pretty bad. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
There's things they did well. There's things they did well, but for that too. But this is the best way to go, right? Like, Smeagol looks great still, but you still have to. It's better this way. So it is crazy that they built that out. It is crazy that they built it out. But so like to your point, yeah, I think we're gonna get more of it. And in the game you do get more of it, but I think we might get more than we are normally gonna get. We're getting it
Mhm.
plus. Um, which is a good thing because I'm really enjoying Jackson. I thought, like, again, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, how much Jackson are we gonna get? And is this gonna get too much? Is this gonna be like season 2 of The Walking Dead where you're stuck at the barn the whole time or the farmyard the entire time and you're just like, let me out. This is
Do
not fun.
something.
Yeah.
And
And we haven't we have not gotten nearly that point. I've enjoyed our time in Jackson. And I'm enjoying seeing what's going on there and what happens in this place for myself anyway.
Yeah, it's moving quick. Like it's it's moving. It's moving.
Yeah, is this pace kind of what you were all expecting? I was not expecting to be moving this fast, and based on scenes from next time, um, like we're moving,
Like they're not
like
trying
we
to
are
knock out the
trucking.
whole game, are they? Because there's a season 3.
No,
Are
no,
they
no, no.
splitting the game
There's
in
the
half?
season 3. Yeah, no, there's season 3,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be the second game. I think they said they're gonna do the second game in 2 seasons was the original plan. I don't know if they've made announcements since then, but that was the plan, um, for this. So, but yeah, they are moving, and I guess it makes sense too. Like the game you're doing the fighting from one section to another. You're going to
Mhm.
different like this. They don't have to. This is like, hey, they got through it, and boom, you're at the next part, and then hey, boom, you're at the next part, and it's like you don't have to show. You don't have to go through all the stuff in between and figure out how to kill all these clickers and these other guys and
Yeah, and you're not dying
right
and
like
restarting. You're not
yeah,
figuring out a
exactly.
way.
So
They've figured it already. They just
which is what a lot of this is like a lot of this and especially once you get to Seattle, um you in the game there's a large section where it's literally open world. You have an open little mini world area where you can go and do jobs and find different things and upgrade your weapons and you can get lost in that spot for like another 10 hours if you want. I think in total, like I know it might be a bit much. 5 hours you can get lost in there. I know I did probably 80% of the stuff that's in there. I don't think I did it all, but like I spent a decent amount of time in there and you don't have to. You can literally cruise right on through. You can do the thing, go right on through, but then you're not going to get like, the silencer for this gun and you're not going to get like the extra shiv that's just stronger and you're not going to get so all that stuff being stripped out, I mean, we're moving pretty quick through this. So it's cool. It's cool. I'm excited. I am excited. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that without
I'm just worried how far we're gonna get. I'm worried that like I want it to be spoiled through game and not movie or show, but I don't know if I'm gonna make it in time. I don't know if I'm gonna be. I don't know where it's gonna end. I don't know if I'm gonna have big spoilers. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
spoilers for what? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're gonna have big spoilers?
I
What do you
want to
mean?
beat the game before I
Oh,
see it in the show, and I'm worried that the
oh,
show
did
is
you actually
going
start
to.
the game? Should we talk about that? We've talked about this a little bit last 2 weeks. How you were never gonna,
Still haven't started
you
it.
weren't gonna do it. Did you
I
start
still
it?
don't
haven't
even have a
started.
PlayStation at my house.
You don't have one?
No, I borrowed it to Miss Wrangler's brother to play some games, but
Well, it's on PC, right?
what for another $60? Oh no, that's right. It was cheaper than the second one or the first one.
No, the second one's cheaper than the first one.
Yeah, but then I still have to spend The Last of Us. Yeah, 64.
The last sitting.
I bought this. I bought it. I didn't. I used
You
Air
have
Miles.
it?
I have Air Miles
You bought it?
on PS4.
Oh, you have it on
Oh.
PS4. I thought you meant you bought it on
Yeah, sorry.
PC and you
I can't
didn't
talk. My
know.
voices. I'm out of words.
You should definitely play it. I would recommend because it will give you. I think it's interesting to see these changes that they're doing, and it might. I don't know. We'll see.
I know, and I'm doing okay with remembering it so far, but I think after this next episode, I'm gonna be.
This
That's
is where
kinda
we
it for me.
get. This is where we get into a little bit of the like where I think it gets tougher for people to start remembering things because in the game there's such large portions before like between in this area like there's large traveling sections and exploration like between story beats
Right.
that it can get tough to remember everything here.
I also don't want to go through Joel dying again. Like, shoot me right now if I. have
Well,
to
you
do
can just
that.
skip the scenes, man. You already did that part. We talked about it. You move on.
I guess I can skip him. Yeah.
All right. Should we do? Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go to reviews?
There was one thing I noticed, but I don't know if it's like it could be
Lay it on me.
alluding to something in the future, and I don't want to be getting into spoiler
Well, no. If
territory.
it was in the episode, you can talk about it. Just
Well-
don't bring in future stuff.
Yeah, so just like Dina throwing up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Did you? I mean, it was obvious that it happened, but like for the people
Well,
who
and-
know, is that like the start of that there?
Well, you know what? They make a very good point of saying how weird that is for her.
Yeah.
And how she never throws up and sort of all these things. So, I think they were laying some breadcrumbs out there. So we'll see. We'll see what all comes out of that. I mean, to me, it was so obvious, but maybe I was just because I was looking for it
Right.
and
yeah.
I knew what comes of all this. But they did a very good job of just being like, "Oh, this is very weird behavior from you."
Wink, wink,
How
nudge,
could this-
nudge.
Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It was almost a little like for me. I was like, "Oh, this is not very subtle at all." But this is
Okay.
exactly what I thought how they were going to show it.
Yeah.
I did not notice. I'll see if Miss Wrangler does.
Oh, really? Didn't
Ooh.
notice it?
No,
Go back and listen to how they talk about it.
the verbiage.
The verbiage, yeah. But yeah, you're right. No, they definitely lingered on it a bit.
I'm trying to think. if
Which
there
is
was
kind of
something else,
interesting.
but No, I think that was like the main one.
Okay. Let's go to review score time. Ba-dum-ba-ba-ba-dow.
Who has to
Reviews.
start?
Ba-dum-bum-bum-ba-dow.
Poke's gotta start, I think. Right?
What?
Poka starts this one.
I started
Yeah,
last time.
Poke's got to start.
You
What?
started last time.
No, I started last time.
I-
You gave 9.8 after me.
You might be right.
No, you were. I remember
Yeah,
being
I think we bullied
devastated.
him into it. So
I just remember having this conversation last time, so that's why it was okay.
I think it's you. Honestly, I don't even know where I land on this one yet. So I'm like ostrich last time. Like
Oh.
we were trying to figure it out on the
You
go.
got
I
a
think.
number. I can
Gonna
go if
be,
you
I
guys.
think.
Okay, if anyone's
gonna
got a
be
number
different.
ready to go, hit me with it.
I kind of have a number, but
Okay, who
I'm-
wants to go first?
I'll go first. It's my turn to go first. I got it.
Yep.
I hope it's. I have a feeling it's gonna be widely different. I'm going with like a 6.5.
Oh, you dirty scoundrel. Okay,
And that
tell
could-
me
that
why.
could-
Justify it.
That might
Did
change
you hear
for
my
next week.
whoa? You time lapsed me.
Time jumped you.
3 months later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I could just be having like a shitty couple of days, but I just could not get into the show. I was so fucking bored, and I was like watched half of it yesterday and watched the other half today. I was just
Ooh.
so fucking out of it. So it could have
You're
just
just
Merger and
not-
halfer is never good.
No, never a good sign when you have to half and half it.
It very realistically is just me, but so that was
No,
but
that's fine. That's a
kinda
valid
how I
point. I
felt
mean,
by the end.
I would say for those who also don't know and obviously don't tune in regularly, or if you're finding this sometime after, like that's part of that's part of the reason too. I think you and I differ a lot. Like I'm like when I play games and watch movies, I'll hang around a lot longer. And I think it's fair to say like you are more of like a hey, if this thing ain't trucking, like don't even come knocking.
I really don't pick up on a lot of shit.
Well, that's fair too, because no, but that's fair too, because like how many people are watching this not picking up on the little things here and there, right? Like the little, even the art pieces, the in the background, we were in Ellie's room back in her place, and there's there's space stuff there again, which plays into the future and how we know her. Like there's tons of things that a lot of people don't pick up on because you're not looking at all the pieces that are around and you're not listening to every word and um you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I think that's valid because you are I think you're also a very large part of viewership, right? Like not everyone's gonna be into it like I am for sure, and like maybe Ostrich is partially, right? Like,
Those young kids.
well, not even just young kids. It could be 55-year-olds that never even heard The Last of Us. They just like the story because newsflash, the show is really good. You don't need to know the games to know this. Like it's
True.
just high quality television. And that's what one thing I was gonna say this week too. And I know I said it season 1, but I want to harp on it again too, is that like um these scores are high, I would say generally, even for myself, like how I normally view TV is not in this sort of like this way. Um like an 8 is better than I would have given most of like the Walking Dead stuff, is far more than I would have given most of the Walking
Oh,
Dead
yeah.
stuff. And I enjoyed The Walking Dead. Like we sat through so many episodes of that, watching it weekly
Oh,
back in the day,
Lord, did
Ostrich.
we.
Like, right? Like and it was not like, and I looked forward to it. And it wasn't a lot of it. Like season 2 was terrible. But like I would have rarely given 8s for any of that stuff. So this is such high quality television. I really do believe it. Like even if you don't like the games, I think this stands on its own. So yeah, that's kind of so I don't feel bad giving high marks to this if I think it's warranted.
Mhm.
Like, okay. Anyway, sorry. So you
Yeah.
had what was it? What was
Whose
your
review
final?
Was that? Was
6.5.
that Permas or Pokas?
Was it
What? That was
6.5?
No,
Well, because
he just talks over me. It's fine.
well, no, because you were like, oh, I don't know if I'm just wrong on this or anything. Like I
Well,
just wanted to say, like it just
I was
you're
giving my
not probably
explanation.
wrong on that. So you had a 6.5.
I was I was at 6.5.
I'm go ahead and just put you down for 6.7. Okay, I'm sorry.
Fucker.
All right, Ostrich. I won't interrupt you.
Okay,
I won't
giving it-
justify your
Oh,
number.
you want to
I'm going
interrupt
to
him?
give it an 8. Permadirt, tell me why.
I don't think so, you dirty slut. Your turn.
No, 8 is my score, which I should say the IMDb rating on this one is a 7.5, which I always like to see. It ties
Again, I'm glad you bring that up because I never look.
it ties the first episode.
Okay.
With 7.5s as well. I think I probably would have rated it lower, but I was just expecting it to be so slow and so damn sad that the fact that we only had the one moment of sadness, and then it was like a slow go because
Mhm.
they're still doing stuff. They straight up left their home. You get introduced to a group of hippie nuns who slashed their own faces, who instantly died.
Man, it's so hard to not make jokes about like about
Wasn't he gonna not interrupt you?
Yeah.
sorry, keep going.
Fine.
You're right.
Here's
Keep going.
your stuff. I lost my train of
I put
thought.
a
What were you gonna say?
smile. No, it's so hard not to make Joker jokes.
Oh yes.
Like when I was doing, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know
I
it's in
know.
the game, but I'm like, I can't not make the similarities are right there. Put some makeup on these people.
Yeah, and we throw
Okay,
them
keep
in
going.
there. We get to Seattle, which is bing bang boom. And then you find out that they are going to be dealing with a way bigger group than we thought, which is honestly kind of the expectation with, I don't know, I just feel like it's the expectation with anything. You underestimate, and then you always get kerslapped. So
Kerslapped.
yeah, 8 for it's still moving along just fine. But like I said, I gave the first one a 7. I don't know if this is necessarily better than the first. I just had lower expectations probably going into it.
All right. I agree with the lower expectation. I was kind of there with you actually. Again, I've been waiting for the stall, the infamous stall in shows. Like there's always a stall. There's always some sort of like, okay, well we got those 3 episodes and nothing really substantial happened. We chased our tail, right? Like even in the great shows that happen, the great series, sorry, like it happens. Even when I'm watching like season 2 of Severance, I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's so good, but
that show
there's
is
these like
frustrating.
I'm watching it week to week, and there's like these 3 episodes where I'm like, man, nothing really happened. Like, but it doesn't matter. That's a side note. So, my score, I think I'm still I don't even know. I don't know if I'm set on it until I actually say it, but um, again, very much like
Loud.
Ostrich was was preparing for a slow sort of like the memorial episode, right? Like, oh, Joel's gone and I'm blah blah blah, and I'm unhappy. And we didn't really get that, and part of that was obviously them skipping 3 months, so you missed a lot of the mourning of the city for everybody, not just Joel, but everybody else. Um, you miss a lot of the cleanup. You just everything's clean suddenly. You come back and it's clean. They might be rebuilding, but everything like clickers are all gone. The mess is gone. No blood stains. It's like nothing ever happened. Um, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It reminded me a lot of the very first episode, and how I kind of felt about it, because it's a transition episode. The big thing happened, transition episode. The first episode was a transition from the previous season finishing, and we got the the oh crap moment of Joel doing everything and saving Ellie. Now you get this kind of transition. Second episode was big thing. Third episode we're getting another transition, and I think they're doing very good at being like, we get it. There's not going to be a lot of there's not going to be action here. There's not going to be guns and stuff, which is fine. Doesn't need to be that, but we're going to give you a ton of world building and stuff that even you as fans haven't seen before. We're going to give you the Jackson. We're going to give you these other conversations with Dina that wasn't there. We're going to give you sort of, we're going to give you the backstory on the Seraphites early. We're going to change how you might portray them as the show goes on, because again, in the game, you are slaughtering these people at will. So here you're kind of already feeling like, like there's young kids here. They don't seem like they're aggressive. They are portrayed more peacefully. We don't know that for sure, but that's just how they're being shown to us. So I love a lot of this stuff that kept me engaged, even as a fan. I would be curious to know, as someone, if like again, I'd be curious to see what Miss Wrangler, thinks of this episode, because she has no idea. I'd be curious to know what more people who haven't played the game or know anything about the game think about this episode and how the show's going so far. I am, because I feel like it's a lot like the first episode, I am also gonna go back to an 8.0 for this one. Very good.
Okay.
It served its purpose. We're not, we're not hanging around. Do I think it was perfect? No, again, it was a far from perfect. I think they've done a good job of taking some of the video gaminess stuff out of the show and kind of grounding it, I think, better than the game does. But like you still get the weird stuff where, like, again, like, was Ellie in the hospital or wasn't she? Or maybe I'm just dumb for not understanding that, or like some of that sort of mix up stuff along the way where I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. The Tommy being, less of a loaded gun in the show and more of a diplomatic man. Yeah, there was just a few more things going on there. So I liked it. It served its purpose. Let's get on to Seattle. Basically the way I feel about it. Like, so 8.0 is where I'm at with that one, I think. So we have what, 2 8s and a 6.5. I will get those put in there pronto for next time. Let's see here. Let's see. Do you guys want to do again just a quick thing on next time? You want to watch it again? Just kind of talk about predictions?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Then maybe we will end it here, and then we'll do the separate thing just after talking about that, so we can kind of have something to talk about here in a little bit. Okay. Then thanks everyone for tuning in. We're going to be back. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Say something that, if you stuck out to the very end, first of all, congratulations. You've suffered, and you've earned everything that comes your way this week. But also maybe say something nice about it's springtime or something. I don't know. Say something about Poka's hair or Halifax or Ostrich's birthday. I don't know. Say something down in the comments below. Yeah, and the stash, the strong stash. Oh, did I heard it, but I have it muted for the recording. I'm sorry.
Of course you do.
So we'll catch you
Scam.
back here next week, Monday, everyone. Wave goodbye to the folks, people. Wave goodbye. Yep.
Bye
Till
now.
next time.